Two fire trucks that were supposed to rush to the scene of a fire to rescue people instead caused a tragedy due to a dispute between them. The driver involved in the collision clung tightly to the steering wheel until his rescue teammates arrived. It was only then that Old Joe realized he had caused a major disaster. The accident scene was in complete disarray. The firefighters were all injured to varying degrees, while the other driver was in critical condition. The other driver insisted that Old Joe had run a red light, and the matter quickly drew the attention of higher-ups. The station chief directly asked him if he had run the red light. Old Joe's mind went blank at the time. Worse still, there were no surveillance cameras at the intersection. Old Joe underwent a mandatory breathalyzer test as required, and then went to the hospital for a blood test. When he emerged from the hospital, the firefighters across the street glared at him with hostile eyes. Later, all firefighters at the scene were questioned by higher-ups. When it was Lieutenant Matt's turn, he unconditionally supported his teammates. Soon, the station chief retrieved surveillance footage from the previous intersection. Old Joe had indeed run a red light, and the collision occurred 30 seconds later, but he believed he had done nothing wrong.
Chief, everybody breaks the controlled stop rule. You pretty much have to.
That's your defense? All the kids are doing it?
Chief, you want to back me up here?
I would stop talking now, Joe.
Regardless of whether he had run the red light at the time of the collision, he had already violated the regulations at the previous intersection. If the driver had not survived, Old Joe would not only be fired, but could also face criminal charges. Old Joe rushed to the hospital to visit the driver, but outside the ward, his teammates prevented him from approaching and scolded him. Matt intervened and pulled Old Joe away, but others continued to harp on the matter. In fact, there were no witnesses at the scene, no surveillance footage, and the driver was in a coma. Matt urged him to leave the hospital, saying it would show he had grace. Finally, in the evening, news came from the hospital. The driver had woken up. Old Joe sighed in relief. The driver confessed the truth. It was actually him who had run the red light. They had lied for the sake of the team. If the driver hadn't survived, his family would at least receive honor and compensation.